I'm kinda can fly, like a lemon inside. My bullets come with wings and your cerebellum can fly.
All right, here we go. On 5, 4, 3, 2.
Hey, how you doing? This is Brian with Stratified. I'm the host. We've got the co-host Netza and the multimedia guru, Studio Time TV owner. And I am here with Jessica, the Black Widow Borga. We're calling her our combat queen of Central Florida. So we're going to dig into how you're doing, your journey, and tell me what you got going on right now. Like,
it's a struggle trying to find a fight right now.
Okay.
I'm almost tempted to make it go at least to the second round just to get another fight.
I hear that.
I'm not going to do that. But yeah, we're actively trying to find fights right now. I've kind of switched over my MMA to bare-knuckle boxing.
Yeah.
But I am really loving bare-knuckle boxing, and that's pretty much that.
You look very impressive, and we're going to get into that fight where you look so impressive. Your career kind of started in 2018 with you kind of jumping into training. I kind of want to talk about that and a little bit about your life before you got into this kind of training.
I'll sum it up the best I can.
Okay, and then we kind of want to know what kept you there. So go ahead and tell me a little bit about your life leading up to this point, and then we'll talk about what kept you in it.
Well, everyone has a sad story, but yeah, to sum it up, I mean, I just had a rough childhood. I got in a lot of trouble, growing up. Getting kicked out of schools, was in a lot of domestic violence relationships, and I was actually currently in one when I started training, and that's the reason why I started training, really.
Okay.
I was like, there's not going to be another man that ever puts their hand on me.
I feel a lot of women do that.
I mean, I knew that, I never really took it, and that probably didn't help either, because everyone knows me, I have a mouth. So I'm not going to go down without, I'm going to shit talk to the end. But I wanted to back it up, and I wanted to be able to back it up technically and professionally, but the moment I started training at Champions, I fell in love. It's like, yes, great for defense, but I felt like it was my calling, 100%. I felt like that's what I was meant to do. And I went gung-ho like that. So I was like, I'm doing it. I'm going to be a professional. I'm going to be at the top. I'm going to be world champion, and that will be hopefully at the beginning of next year. But
that's what we're pushing towards. I'm rooting for you. I've known you for a while, just on Facebook. We've been friends for a long time on Facebook, so I actually had the pleasure. I had the pleasure of watching this journey, and watching you just go from just a normal girl working a job, got kid, and
veterinary
you transforming into this warrior. Like it was
and coming up from a little town and being able to be I say infamous more than famous.
That's probably my rep too.
But it's very humbling. It's very humbling to all the people that went to school with me. I'm sure they thought that I was not going to amount to much. Just because I
can feel that. Yeah. I can truly feel that as a person.
So then looking at me and seeing where I am now, how successful I've got. It's very humbling to talk about. I know.
That's
it makes
awesome.
me want.
I know that I can feel that.
I'm gonna put it in a book eventually. I swear. I'm gonna put my whole life story in a book because it's just been.
You should. We're gonna try to get the first chapter.
Anything I can go through in life, I feel like I can get through it.
I believe that. I believe that in people. Period. I believe that our mind state. We're creators of our universe.
100%.
And you're doing some really impressive things. Like I said, I watched this journey from the beginning, and it was
a
impressive.
roller coaster.
It was impressive to watch. I was wondering, how far, is she going to take it? And,
so many people stop.
Seeing your personality, though, I can tell that you're a fighter. I can tell you're one of those people. And so tell us, what was your initial plan once you got in there and you felt like you liked it? What was that moment where you're like, I want to do this on a competitive level?
Honestly, it was right away. From the moment I started training, the first fight camp. The only thing I didn't like from the start was weight cutting. That's the only thing that I never came from a background of wrestling. I never came from a background in any of the sports that people get used to that. And it's a change. And I started at almost 27 in the whole sport, so it's a little later than most people would start any kind of combat sport.
Yeah.
But I started a little bit later and, just went literally 10 fights, and I had more than that scheduled, and the 2 years that I was amateur. So, and with winning record. So I went gun-ho in my amateur and went pro right away. Had a couple pro fights, and then got offered the UFC contender.
So when did you get? So what was the first big call that you got that was like, oh my gosh, this is dope. I'm about to actually fight on a different level now. Like,
UFC, because it was just so fast.
Okay.
I literally got thrown into the top level fast in my career.
Right. Okay.
Which usually happens with females because there's less females than males.
I get it. Right.
It was when UFC Contender Series called, and they offered something, but Bellator did right after them and offered way more, and I got to keep my sponsors. And it was only the Contender Series for UFC, so I was like, yes, everyone knows the name of UFC, but I literally got like so much more with Bellator, and I got to keep my sponsors, which my sponsors mean everything to me. So
right, and
it
like
was an
you
easy
said,
call for me.
Yeah, and starting at 27, they kind of like make some of those decisions for you too. Like
Yeah.
if he was younger, you might have been able to do the Contender,
Exactly.
build a brand.
I'm glad you see that. A lot of people don't think about those kind of things, especially even the sponsorship things and stuff like that. And people
Right.
don't understand the behind the scenes stuff, and it's a lot.
Yeah. So you got the first call from Contenders. Then you got a call from Bellator. Who was the first fight for Bellator? Do you remember?
Amber Leibrock is my favorite fight. I remember it. Oh yes, yeah.
Okay.
She's the only one that also shit talked. Like it was bad, shit. Bad. And I just like smiled. I was smirking. She did extra at the weigh-ins, and
Yeah.
she was 6 foot.
Okay.
So she it was my first 145 fight. She thought she had it in the bag.
Yeah. Yeah.
And-
So being cocky with it.
Oh, big time cocky. But I was in the best shape ever for
Yeah.
that fight, and I armbarred her in the first round. I told my husband in the back when she was being all
Yeah.
running her mouth and stuff. I'm like, hey, tomorrow they're gonna close that cage. They're gonna lock it, and she won't be able to get away from me. And she said I wasn't gonna be able to break her will. I was like, well, then I'll break her.
Yeah. I'm gonna break something.
Yeah, and she tapped quick because she
Something's
knew
gonna
I was going to break it.
That will broke actually. It
Exactly.
Yeah.
I actually was on top of her ground and pounding, and that's actually what went through my head was, nope, I'm going to make her tap, which would break her will, or I'm going to break her arm.
Yeah.
So I literally transitioned and went on bottom, risking, just because I knew I was going to do it.
Beautiful. Yeah, I see Nate Diaz do that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Nate Diaz is the guy that will go on the
I
bottom
could
and loves
easily
it down
finish
there.
her. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's
On the
awesome.
top. But nope, I was like, I'm going to break your will or your arm. One or the
Well,
other.
when people look at you, they're going to notice a difference. So Amanda Nunes is like another fighter that I can kind of see.
Amanda Nunes and Cyborg, we apparently have the same power.
Yeah, so I can see that kind of
But I
person
haven't
in
got
you.
to show that because my school wasn't a stand-up school.
And your hands are looking crispy too.
And now that I'm a boxer, my stand-up is getting.
Getting good.
My coaches are like, you look like a professional boxer.
Yeah.
And that for a year and a half in boxing only, really, like that's a huge deal.
Well, I mean, when you look at some of the after effects of the damage that you've caused,
I'd rather than be out.
people like the photo I was showing, some of these people next door over at this other business, they were wondering what you hit her with. Like,
I know it looked like a coin slot.
yeah, like a dent.
I wondered what I hit her with. She said I elbowed her, and I went through and looked at the table. I'm like, no, I never elbowed you.
Well, you put her in the ding and dent section after that fight because she
made some funny jokes on Twitter about it, though.
Yeah, I bet. Yeah. So being a single mom and working a job at the beginning, through all the pain, through all the soreness, all the trials, I mean, what was the thought that was going through your head that every day made you show up? And I know being a single mom, I could see how much you love your son, and you're a great mom. Just from your social media presence.
Like there's just more that we can do though, because I always feel like
I agree.
Yeah.
Yes,
I'm never good as I want to be.
Yes, ma'am.
Because I'm also trying to do my career, and
Yeah.
I always feel bad if I miss a practice, if I miss a game. Trying to juggle it with 3 kids is rough.
So if you was talking to another woman out there that might be looking at this and might not know, hey, how am I going to get up tomorrow and go to work and go to training and then feed my kid? What's the mind state that you had to actually?
You have to want it. You have to want to make something of yourself. You have to have the passion for it.
Mm-hmm.
You also have to realize that there's going to be a lot of things that you have to give up. There's going to be a lot of sacrifices in this, and you have to understand that and explain that to your kids, because that is a huge part of it. And it sucks. Like, it sucks. I literally gave a good paying, I was clinic manager at a veterinary hospital and had amazing pay, and I gave that up for training, and we don't get paid to train. We don't get paid for any of our recovery stuff. We pay out of pocket for everything.
Yeah.
So we only
cheap.
get paid when we fight, and last year I only had one fight. So it's like, yeah, it's not cheap at all. No, it's not at all. I've made it to where I can do most of my recovery stuff. I'll tell you a little more about that in a bit, but how I can afford it and how you can make it work.
Well, just the food bill alone to be able to eat right.
And
I mean, especially in this economy.
3 kids and a husband and like boys mainly.
Yeah.
They eat, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And they're looking at mama bear for that. So that's really impressive that you maintain all those and you're still having the success that you're having.
I am able to juggle a lot, though. That's a gift. I don't know how to explain that, because everyone's like, I don't know how you do all that you do. So not everyone's going to be able to do it, but just, do what you can.
Yeah.
You can't feel bad. You can't feel guilty.
Stay focused on it. Don't give up. You know what I mean? That's
prove
good.
to your kids that sacrifices can be beneficial.
That's a great that's great advice. And
not going out, not partying, all that stuff.
Yeah. Huge.
All part of it.
Yeah, that's huge.
Deal. They have no idea.
Yeah, what are you giving up for that party?
That
you know
one
what I mean?
fun night, to be world champion is worth it.
That's right. That's right. I've only seen one person that can keep doing all that craziness, and that's John Jones.
Oh, I know. I'm like, oh my God, how do you do that? Or Conor McGregor.
Yeah. He literally told DC, he's like, I want you to know, like, I beat you up in the night before I was partying, dude. I was like, wow, what a statement.
My last one with Bellator, she was smoking afterwards, and I'm just like, I was mad, because I was like just getting out of like, having surgeries and stuff like that, and I barely had gas tank for one round.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and catch this advertisement, and me and Jessica will be right back.
I'm trying to come fly, like a lemon inside. My bullets come with wings and your cerebellum.
Okay. Welcome back to Stratified, guys. We're here with Jessica. We're going to move into what she feels going into a fight. What is her mind state? So on the psychological side, when you're preparing to go against an opponent, does it change each opponent? Do you put yourself in a place of anger, or you wait for them to go ahead and do that for you?
It's all different every time.
Right.
Most of the time, like the whole start of my career, really, and actually all of MMA up until I got into the top 10 with Bellator, the top 10 in the world, I felt more pressure.
Okay.
But before that, I never had fear. I never had the person never scared me.
Right.
Now, doubting. Not doubting, more of worried whether you're going to win or not.
The outcome of it.
The outcome, you don't want to disappoint your family. You don't want to disappoint your friends. You don't want to disappoint your coaches.
I feel that.
And me, I'm a perfectionist too. I've got to prove myself. Everywhere I go, I prove myself. Everywhere I've ever worked, I've always got to the top because I've always felt like I had to prove myself. So, the emotions are like a roller coaster. At the beginning, I also got mad. That's one of the things actually has been my hardest thing to control since I started this whole journey. And I finally feel like I figured it out a little bit more. I had the right people in my corner. I feel like now, right people mentally to talk to me and tell me how to control and rewire my thinking, and to be more strategic and control chaos.
So you got a great team behind you that's kind of helping build that psychological battle that's coming into it.
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, the way I used to get upset if I didn't do something right, or if I was tired. That's one thing that, even in my last fight with MMA, that was one of the things that irritated me the most, is because I knew I only had my cardio wasn't there. Right. I had one round maybe. I mean, I lasted all 3, but still wasn't myself in the last the 2. But
I get it. So
it was hard.
Is fear something that you do find being a part of it sometimes? And when you feel this fear, do you feel like it's a negative thing, or is it something that actually you embrace that gives you an edge, almost like a survival type edge inside of it?
With
Or
MMA, I never felt like I was in trouble. Even I've had some brawls, but I never felt the fear of being like life or death kind of thing, or like, you know, I've got to fight. Like, I've never felt like that.
Okay.
So the fear, it's more of nerves, just nervous and excited energy. That's more I've got more than anything.
I got you.
I've actually had to calm down in the back because I'm so excited. And my coach is like, save the energy, calm down. And
your heart rate's crazy high.
But,
I'm like that too. I get super pumped, and I'm a real excited person too.
I only got really nervous where I felt like it kind of affected me adrenaline-wise in my last two, and I think that was more because I wasn't myself health-wise. So it made me doubt me. And when everyone knows, you can hear the commentators, everyone knows that when I stepped in there and I'm not me, they're like, oh, she must have had a bad weight cut. There's something going on. Because when I step in there, I win in the first round. Like, I mean, I finish them.
Yeah. You're coming with a mission. Yeah.
And I really feel invincible when I'm like that. So
I can relate. I'm involved in racing cars, and I'm not really the big fighter guy, but I've had my opportunities in that, and I can feel exactly what you're saying. I'm a thrill seeker, so and I'm a very clutch person. Like, you know, if you have me plan too much, I might get nervous and overthink myself. But if you throw me right into the midst of it, say there's a car wreck and I've got to pull somebody out of a car, for some reason my brain works really good in those moments.
It's almost better short notice. It's almost better. Like, I don't care who it is. When I'm me and I'm ready, I feel like invincible.
Yeah, and that's and I can relate to that, and so that's a really good outlook, I think, to have in situations if you can actually produce that way of thinking. Not everybody can think that way. Yeah. You know, it gets real foggy for some people. The adrenaline dump is way too much.
Oh yeah, and that adrenaline dump is serious. So my first fight with Bellator, it was amazing, and then COVID hit and shut everything down for 3 years. And my first fight back in the last two with MMA was
So who was that fight? You know, your first fight in Bellator?
My first one was Amber Lightrock.
Okay, that was Lightrock. Now, your last fight in Bellator was Liam McCord. That's right, yeah. And
which is the number one contender right now.
Yeah, and she was number 5 there. Yeah, she was
4 or 5. I thought she was 4, but you might be right.
Yeah, she was fine.
I watched
your video the other day. I did my homework.
She got to number 4 after beating me.
Okay, and honestly, you know, let's dive into that and unpack that a little bit. The first round, I thought you was explosive. I mean, you were banging her up decent. Your mechanics looked so much more advanced than hers. She did not look comfortable.
Because she actually is known for her ground game, and we had the same game. But I knew I was better than her on the ground. That's why I took her down.
Yeah, and you got a deep
and then
Kimura.
She stayed away from me for
So you put a deep Kimura in her, and really held on to it for a while. You were digging at it. You were trying to just snap her off.
Yes, it was.
So what was the defining? You know, and I always kind of wonder too in those moments when I see these fighters, you know, going for this submission. What was the thoughts that happened when you're like, okay, I need to get out this Kimura and transfer over to something else?
That's honestly, I even wrapped my foot around our arm and gave my arms a rest for a second to go back at it at one point, and they were like, I've never seen that. That's amazing. I remember the commentators saying
like
that.
Shaking that out.
Yeah, I literally just hooked it with my foot from her back. But I don't even remember doing that, but that's entertaining for sure because it's not normal. But I finally, like, I was like, all right, you know, obviously she's got good flexibility somehow for some reason. Figured out afterwards it was because she had had surgery before. Apparently that makes her way more flexible. Plus her length had something to do with that, I'm sure.
Yeah, okay.
And so I finally let it go, and I let her spin out, and I ended up in the beatdown position in the last 10 seconds.
Yeah, you did.
And if I would have had 30 seconds, I would have.
You was there.
Smashed her up.
you were there, and she was in deep trouble.
That's what even exerted more energy. Into the second round, I was so mad. I let my emotions just start pouring through. Control, and it drained me. The second round, I was
because you came out
so tired.
Mouth slightly open, but as the round progressed, you seen that I could see the deep breaths you trying to get them in.
I didn't finish her.
But what was crazy is like you could see she didn't want no more part of that. Like going to the ground, she no longer wanted any part of that.
Yeah, I
and
think she even swept me one time and then still stood up.
Yeah.
She did not want to get back. I'm
No,
like,
she
it.
did.
I was kind of letting her sweep me to get back on the ground.
You could see the bulldog in who. You know what I mean? Like you knew who the bulldog was in that fight.
Yeah.
And she was backing up. And one of the things that I noticed is like you would see the shot coming in, and instead of like trying to pray or do any of those, you literally just would take it to the forehead to give another one. And I thought, wow,
I know
what?
my coaches weren't happy about that at all.
That's impressive, though. Like, you don't see too many, too
They're
many
going to break
women.
their hand on my big old head.
That's what I think about people about my big noggin. Like,
But you do have to be careful. You don't want to get hit. But I've always
Right.
been, I'm going to take a hit to give a hit because mine's going to hit harder.
yeah, and my thought has always been kind of in those moments, too, because, like, I was a little wild in my younger years. I was thinking,
I think we all had a little.
if you don't knock me out,
Mm-hmm.
your hands ain't guarding your face at that moment. So here comes yours,
Yeah.
and let's see who's standing at the
And
end.
I've gotten a lot of people like that. Like,
It works,
Yeah.
especially if you've got a good,
And
strong jaw.
I
You
got
can
lucky
take
with
a
that.
wall up. You don't get flashed easy. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I'm one of those people. I don't feel weight. I don't know my strength
I mean, the
inside of
more
my
you get
adrenaline.
hit, though, that button does go down, though, so you definitely don't want to. But,
Repeatedly.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But
And-
so I'm way better at dodging them now and still giving them. So now I'm just becoming more lethal. That's
You
fine.
are. And let's talk about the actual lethal company, probably the most lethal company in the world right now, the top growing combat sport on the planet, gives you a call, BKFC.
Mhm.
Tell me how that kind of goes down. Tell me who your first fighter was, how that transpired, because I know there was a little bit of controversy
Yeah.
with that.
Mhm.
That kind of changed up at the last minute for you, so
Literally
that was
the day
a wrench.
before.
Day before.
Which
so,
I told you, though, I'm game for that. That's
right.
fine.
So let's dive into that, and you tell me about that experience coming into the BKFC, that whole transition from MMA to stand-up, bare knuckle.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a totally different ballgame. You ain't got legs to work with no more. You don't have
but It's
elbows.
so much easier. But
Okay.
you got to worry about one thing.
One thing.
Instead of, all the martial arts,
Mm-hmm.
you worry about one thing. And it's so much easier than MMA, which I love. I love the challenge of MMA.
Right.
But I wanted to do bare knuckle since they started. But I was under contract with Bellator.
Gotcha.
I actually got out of my contract. I had one fight left on my contract with Bellator and asked to be released to do my first BKFC fight. And then, of course, there was a change in opponent, which I actually liked the change of opponent. So the one that was a debut, that I was like, okay, whatever. This girl isn't even like a legit fighter, really. Like they were
Right.
just throwing someone in there, and I was like, I'll take what I can get, but whatever.
Heard that.
I like challenges, though. So the one that stepped in at the last minute was in the military, but she had already done a championship fight of bare knuckle. So she's already been in bare knuckle. It wasn't her debut.
Right.
And she was a seasoned fighter with Invicta and Bellator and everything. So she
Okay.
was a scrapper and everything. I was like,
She
yes.
looked like a scrapper,
Oh,
too.
yeah. And
Like, she had that
she
persona.
lasted longer, and she actually fights lower weight class usually than the girl that I just fought.
She still left bleeding, though.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
She left bleeding
I
from the
actually
nose.
knocked a tooth or something. Or,
Yeah, her mouth was pouring blood pretty good, too.
Yeah. So,
But y'all had a good exchange at the end of that fight.
Yeah.
It seemed like respect was there.
Fine. We were fine, yeah.
Yeah,
And I
that's
thought
pretty
the other
cool.
one was too, but then she started talking afterwards. Not about me. 'Cause
So
she-
this was
I
the
said,
last one you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, so
she wants to
let's
fight my teammate.
let's go to this girl. Okay, so who she's talking about is Katharina, the German gypsy
Yeah.
leaner.
I think Katarina. I think.
Katarina?
Yeah,
Is
something
that how
like
it's,
that.
is that how it's saying? Okay.
Leaner.
Yeah. So
The gypsy.
holy shit! Like
And she's a known fighter that's a scrapper. Like
yeah, but your
so-
round was so explosive.
I
mean,
knew I
that
had to be with her too. So
yeah, you hit her so hard that now everybody can see what she's thinking. I mean, it put a hole in this girl's head and a dent.
It did look like a
Netza,
twin
if you can put that photo up for everybody to see, that is a massive blow. And like we were talking earlier, some of the other people that I've showed are, around this location here, I was like, look what, like this girl that's coming here, look what she did to this other girl. And they're like, did she hit her with an axe? Like what?
that's what it seemed like. I was so surprised because I really.
So which
thought
hand was it?
It was my jab.
It was your
My
jab.
I literally went back into the fight because I was sure it had to have been my right hand because I hit her over and over with my right hand.
Yeah.
But I did hit her with
Just
jabs.
caught her
too,
with
and
a
I
jab
just-
coming in. That's
Yep.
so beautiful.
And
And
all
I
of a sudden
love
you just see it dribbling down, and then all of a sudden it was just gushing down.
if you've got a good jab, I mean, it will dominate the fight.
Yep.
I mean, and that's in MMA too. Like, you know, if I can't get any kind of setup because you just keep popping me.
If you can't get in, you can keep them at the distance and you control the fight, you're done.
Yeah, I mean, I could list a whole list of fighters that actually utilizes that jab, and it opens everything up.
It
I
sure
mean,
does.
you know, between that and, you know, some leg kicks in MMA, but like you said, with BKFC, you got one thing that you got to
so much
worry
more
about.
my style.
Yeah.
So much more my
You
style.
seem like a banger. Like,
It is, yeah, it is. I love the violence. The
Yeah.
violence of it is just,
yeah. So
I love it.
after that fight, what did you have like any injury to the hands? Hands
Nope.
felt good.
I mean, they were swollen. They get swollen. No matter, literally, I was
Right,
in
because
there
you just
90
got pre-wrap,
seconds.
right?
Yeah,
That's
well, it's only your wrist that they wrap. And then
And they actually don't
around
come
your thumb.
around either.
Around the thumb.
Okay,
But all this is open.
right.
So just even no matter how you condition your hands or whatever, they're gonna swell up. They're gonna be bruised. They're gonna be hurting for a while.
Right, and is that basically the same wrap that you do before you put your hands in the boxing glove?
Nope.
So it's a totally
Yep,
different wrap.
Yeah, you're these are always protected when you're.
Right, that's right. So when you're boxing, they do come between here
But
and
with
wrap
that-
this. No.
Nope.
So
Way more risk of injury.
okay.
Way.
So is there a particular special wrap that these fighters are doing in the BKFC?
Just the normal, just to keep it.
Just a normal
the-
wrap before they do the actual wrap between the fingers. It's your normal
Yep.
fight wrap that you do
Yep.
before the other.
And
Okay.
then it all goes together usually, and they just take off the ones in between the fingers.
Right.
And just end up going around the wrist. That's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
It's
wow.
crazy.
Yeah.
Some of the bare knuckle promotions don't even do that.
Right.
No.
Just straight-
Which I'm fine with either.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I mean, and honestly, that
Mm.
you know, that kind of comes into a little bit more having to do with genetics and all
Yeah.
these other things and injuries because now you're the strength of your wrist. So, you know, I was in a pretty good car wreck. Like I said, I've been kind of brutal. So I've got some boxing fracture that comes across here. I mean, I've got like a soup bowl. So when I go to shake a guy's hand,
Yeah.
I don't have no grip until I get here.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's changed the whole game
Injuries
for
will
me.
definitely make you realize to work differently, though. So that's one thing injuries have taught me a lot.
Yeah, and protecting yourself
Yep.
with that because that's definitely, you know, I've seen guys break their hands in fights
Mhm.
and then see them again after that, and
Yep.
you can kind of see a little bit of a difference. They don't put as
Yeah.
much that you can see that's there in the back of their head. Like I
I
can
had my
snap this
jaw
thing
broke in
again.
the first round in one fight for Titan
Your
FC.
jaw broke?
Oh yeah, she broke my jaw. I have titanium plates in my jaw.
Really?
Yeah, I fought 3 rounds and with 2 fractures in my nose and a broke jaw, and didn't tell my corner.
Wow.
My coaches were
So
so
that's kind of
She
comparison.
never knocked me down though.
Yeah, no, didn't get where she wanted, and that's kind of comparison to Michael Bisping and his eye being
Yeah.
100% blind after I think.
Which is surprising they didn't stop it.
And-
Sometimes
and-
they'll
yeah.
stop it if you let them know something's going on. They
Yeah.
knew my nose was broke because it was just pouring blood.
I can't remember who did that to him. I don't know if it was Dan Henderson, because I know Dan Henderson hits like a Mack truck. They say the guy, his masseuse says he feels like a table. Like the guy's back is just
Jesus.
dumb. And then I know Michael Bisping got the
Yeah.
championship from Rockhold, which I think he did that with a blind eye, if I'm not mistaken.
There's
But
been some, you know the real fighters versus the, I want to be a
yeah.
fighter.
So you're gonna go through this, and you seem to have that kind of personality that like it don't really matter what happens to you. Your goal,
I'm going to keep fighting.
yeah, your goal is going to be achieved no matter what, and that's a beautiful thing. Into where you're at right now, because you know you've come to this point to where you need to hit to this next level. You know what I mean? And being a mother, being a wife, and fully dedicating off into this, you know, it's an extremely hard thing to do. So I definitely want to let everybody know that, you know, if they want to get behind an amazing fighter, somebody that they can bank on. No, you're
Because
welcome.
the support is really what they look at.
Yeah.
So your following, your social media, all that really plays a huge part. So our fans are everything.
Yeah.
So our supporters, our fans, our sponsors.
Well, you're extremely marketable. I mean, you know, I've even
That's what it's
said to
getting
my
there.
other partners and some of these other people, I'm like, look, man, I mean, when you look at the looks, if we're looking at the looks of these girls, Jessica's one of the prettiest girls I've ever seen fight.
Thank you.
And then on
Yes.
top of that,
Everyone's like, why do you fight? You're too pretty to fight. I'm like,
it's like, well, you don't know how mean I am.
I was going to say, I was like, I honestly, am I going to use it to my advantage? Sure, because I'd be dumb not to. But
Right.
I probably wouldn't pick this sport if I cared about being pretty. But I do, am I going to use it? Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and you're a very aggressive in all kinds of ways in life. You know, I can
I have
tell
a lot
you.
of attributes my coaches say that a lot of women don't have.
Yeah,
and so
I agree.
It's almost like a superpower.
It is.
So
No, it is. And you can see it when you stand in front of them. Like, you can see, when I look at you,
I am underestimated by the other girls, though.
Oh, because you're very
Yep.
attractive to be a fighter. So when you're looking at them, you're like, I don't know if Blondie is going to match up with this one because I could tell this one's been beat in the face a little bit. But then when I see y'all start
You know,
fighting,
a little funny story. My first fight ever, my amateur. I went up to her and I was like, "Hey, I'm Jessie," just to play
just to
around.
blow her off.
And I even saw her in the hallway, and I was like, "Hey!" Knocked her out in 10 seconds.
Yeah, she had no idea. She's like, I'm fixing to whoop this Barbie,
I was
and
like,
then you gotta. That is great.
I was like, "Nope, there's Jekyll and Hyde in there."
So, what is some of your recovery after these fights? I mean, you know, what is some of the stuff you go through? And I definitely want
A
to talk
lot.
to you about, you know, how you feel about cold plunging. This is something that's really new, but like, what's, you know, leading up to us, you know, breaking down what cold plunging is. What's some of the other things that you do to recover the
Regularly?
body? Yeah.
Honestly, I do it all. I have chiropractic care that is sponsoring me since the beginning.
Okay.
So every week I go in and pretty much they put me back together like Humpty Dumpty. It's not as bad now without jiu-jitsu and stuff like that as much.
Right.
Like, jiu-jitsu really gets you out. But
Yeah.
I go every week for that decompensation. So just, you know, decompressing your spine.
Okay.
That's a huge thing. Your neck.
I probably need some of that.
Yeah, I literally can feel it if I don't go every week. You know, like
Oh my gosh.
especially the older you get, you know, your body gets used to something.
Right.
I do therapeutic massages, which is like not the relaxation ones. Like I
That's the down
have
deep.
someone. Yeah, it
Yeah.
hurts the whole time.
Yeah.
But man, does it feel good afterwards.
Right. Right.
I have hyperbaric chamber with my other sponsor. That's in Peak Performance and Fitness in Palm Harbor. So I literally drive an hour and a half at least once a week to do that.
And say the name of that business again.
Peak Performance Health and Wellness.
Okay. And
the
this is
full
where?
name. In Palm Harbor. So
Palm
like,
Harbor?
Yeah,
Okay.
St. area.
Great. Great.
But they
And that's
are
one of your sponsors
amazing.
is sponsoring you with some of this.
And they also do have like a whole bunch of like brain stuff and everything. So
Okay.
they do it all, but they have chiropractic care there as well.
Right.
But the hyperbaric chamber is a game changer.
Yeah.
And I do the cold plunges, and I have decompression leg things. I have it all. I have scraping tools. I have the iron neck. I
Yeah.
have literally like
You got it all in
I
there.
have it all.
Okay,
So
so
go
continue.
ahead and what's your chiropractor that you go to? We'll go ahead and get
The
them.
chiropractic center in Lakeland is the main one that I
Okay.
go with. So all the doctors there are amazing, but Dr. Johnson has been with me since the get-go.
Nice.
So
Way to go, Dr. Johnson.
Yeah.
Keeping her in line.
I have
Thank
an
you.
MRI that goes with them too. The MRI Associates, he's helped me with anything I need. So any injury I've ever had, he's been able to.
All right,
give me
so
a-
y'all got that. If
Thank
it's
you,
good
guys.
for Borga, you know, it's good for the rest of us around here that's
And they
just
got
getting old. You know
multiple
what I mean?
locations all over for the MRI. So.
So dive me into this cold plunging. I'm not too familiar with
It's
it.
like my favorite.
Yeah, and I just heard from a buddy of mine that also knows you. It was actually his idea. You know, shout out to DJ Melvin.
Hey, DJ.
Yeah, it was his idea
Mhm.
because he was actually looking at it as a business endeavor and just kind of
Smart.
looking into it. And he
So
said,
smart.
"Dude, it is like
Well, I do
really
red light therapy too.
okay."
So
So
infrared sauna and red light therapy before I do the cold plunge.
okay, so take me into that before you go into the cold plunge, then, and let me know how this sets up, and then we'll talk about the effects and the things that you've really noticed, even outside of the
So it's
fighting.
supposed to like detoxify you and relax your muscles and
Mhm.
open you up a little bit in the infrared with the red light therapy, and that helps like heal faster. You heal faster and kind of detox from any, like heavy metals and stuff like that as well.
Right.
So I do that about 15-20 minutes before. And then I'll jump into, apparently if you do that before, that's what they say is better recovery benefits if you do that before the cold plunge. So a little secret though, cold plunge that I have, instead of buying one that's like $7,000 or whatever one that you can find, usually
Right.
at least 5,000 or more,
Okay.
I took a like 24 cubic feet deep freezer,
Uh-huh.
which I found on sale for like $1,000. Sealed the inside, kept it on timer until it got cold enough, 40 degrees.
Okay.
I do 40 degrees, 5 minutes a day, every day.
Gotcha.
So yeah, and you just seal the inside. Of course, unplug it while you're in it, just in case.
Mhm.
You know, you
Right,
don't
I
want to
guess
die on 1,000
we
ways
don't
to
wanna
die.
die
This is the
on
dumbest ways to die. But and then I just keep it on a timer for like 2 hours out of the day to keep it at 40 degrees, and it's always ready.
Okay. So outside of, you know, you can feel the difference in your muscles,
Oh my
I'm sure,
God.
your
Literally
joints.
bruising, even if you have bruising, it goes away so much faster, and that you can
Really?
literally see the healing. It's crazy. It's
Wow.
insane.
And mentally, what does it do for you?
Oh my
Like,
god, I love it. It literally releases dopamine. So it's like
Really?
a natural high for hours.
What? That's
Yeah.
great.
It's insane. It's like the clarity and the happiness that you feel.
Yeah. So it's really
Especially
good
right
for,
after.
you know, possible depression, PTSD, possibly.
Yeah, that's what they say, and I do vouch for it 100%.
Okay.
Makes
great.
me in a better mood. If I
So,
don't
I
get it
mean-
out and work.
You're hearing from Jessica some new stuff that I hadn't even heard about until just recently, and it sounds like a really good, healthy way to kind of like address some of the muscle issues instead of pain pills or something. You know, you can go towards
They
this.
have it all, like the UFC, Performance Institute. Every high-level athlete will tell you that the cold plunge is 100% beneficial.
So if you're hearing that about athletes, you can only imagine if you had like a normal life
Mm-hmm.
of, you know, just us just going through the things we go through on a normal basis
It
and
also
getting
burns
older.
calories just doing that.
And it burns calories. So
So-
that is an amazing new thing that's out. I'm
Mhm.
actually really interested in
It
that.
takes some time to get used to, and don't just jump into like 40 degrees for 5 minutes because you ain't gonna last. But you work your way up. They even say that you can take cold showers. Work
Right.
your way from cold
And I've heard
shower
that.
to 60 degrees, and then stay in for 5 minutes for 60, and then you go down degrees
hmm
until you're used to it. You get used to it.
Okay. So
It still sucks sometimes, but you get used to it.
yeah, so those are the main things that you do for your recovery on the training side.
Yep.
Okay. Well, and as y'all can hear, this is a lot for a human being to take on that ain't
Mhm.
a millionaire.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? I mean, this is a big journey.
Yeah,
So-
especially with, someone with 3 kids that are in their own sports and stuff like that too. So
Yeah.
it's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, that's huge. And so now I kind of want to talk to you about, what can we do as a community to get behind you? You know what I mean? The reason that, besides for some of the training and some of the recovery things, what are some of the other reasons, that you could really use some people to step behind you and let them know how you can also bring some attention to them, and let's try to see if we can't, get some of our community
That would be amazing.
behind
Yeah.
our combat
There's
queen, right?
definitely, I mean, I appreciate my sponsors immensely, but the ones that, I need more paying ones in between. So, like,
Right.
we only get paid when we fight. So, making the money in between is what really helps us. So, if we had, sponsors that were more, paying instead of just trading services.
Right.
But, that's where we come in. We also get their name out. We get, we have social media, interviews, podcasts. We,
Right.
radio shows all the time. So
Right.
we also have their logo that we can put on the banner and, fight clothes. And that's literally watched over and over all around the world.
Right. And your social
Eric,
media is skyrocketing.
Yes,
Like,
yeah.
I mean, I think
That's
I seen
another
on a
thing,
post
too,
like
is they can
800
just
likes.
following me. That helps out a lot, too. So, the more following I get, the better it helps us. So
Right.
it gets us more sponsors. It gets us more, people that are interested. So I got some really big ones I'm hoping that are going to come on board, but we'll see.
Yeah. And so I watched one of your interviews, and I could tell that, in the future, it seems like you're going to make a comeback to MMA to kind of like just go ahead and sew some things together. You had made a mention about your record, and you're like, yeah, you know what, just don't set well,
I've
man.
I've never had a losing record, and even if it's decision losses to top contenders in the world, I know I could have beat them.
Yeah.
So I feel like
So we
I'm
have
going
a
MMA
comeback.
don't get paid, man.
I
Like,
know. That's what I've been hearing from
I've literally
numerous
gotten
amounts of
offers
fighters.
recently, but I'm like, no, I'm not going to take. That's way less than even 25% of what I'm making now. I'm not going to make. That's insane that
Yeah.
people would even offer me that.
So, do you have an upcoming fight on the table yet? No, come on, BKFC. We need a fight, dude.
They're
What's going
trying,
on?
they say, but like, come on. Like, there's one that I'm actually going to be at in Spain
Okay.
for the girl that I want to. Hopefully, there's talk that she's related to Conor McGregor.
Okay.
She's
okay.
like cousins with Conor McGregor, and she's a world champion boxer.
Connor's cousin, huh?
Yeah,
Go
that's
ahead.
what I'm like. What's up?
Bollocks.
What's up?
Yeah.
But-
You're gonna do the Connor
What's
walk at him?
Oh my god, that'd be so funny.
Yeah. Just walk out and do
I
the
might
Connor.
actually do that
Yeah,
now.
that's great. You got to.
Oh.
Yeah. And then shout out Stratified.
Stratified.
Stratified, baby. We're here. That is so great.
Yeah, I hope I get to fight her for the belt.
That would be great. So this is the belt of
145,
145
world champion.
World Championship.
Yep.
Let's
That's
go.
what-
Bring it home to Florida, baby. Let's go.
You know, it seems like we're each going to have one more fight, and she's fighting in Spain. So
Okay.
I'm waiting to hear when I'm going to fight. But I'm going to be there just in case the fight falls
Her
through.
name's what now?
Hannah Rankin.
Hannah
She's
Rankin.
from Scotland.
We're coming for you.
Mhm.
We're coming, Hannah.
I am.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
am.
We're going to
I
start.
literally made a video, called her out, and said, "I will give you a warm American welcome."
Yeah. I mean, just a nice slice of apple pie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's gonna be a little bit got some
Warm
extra
apple
cinnamon.
pie, girl. Got some little bit of whipped cream on it for you. A little bit of something sweet. I am super stoked to see your career unfold, and you know the beginning of it has been absolutely inspirational. I'm truly a fan of yours, and I'm praying for your journey. I'm pushing behind you. If you can go ahead and give us your contact information and how we can get these sponsors, you know, in
Yeah.
contact with you.
Best way to get a hold of me is my email. If you're interested in sponsorship, I can send you guys the sponsorship packages. It's blackwidowborga@gmail.com. But all my social media, Jessica Borga, Black Widow Borga. That's all you can find me. All my links are connected on all my social media pages, so it's easy to find them.
Yeah, it only takes one bite from the Black Widow, man. So, well,
I really appreciate this.
No, and I'm honored, and I really appreciate it, and I really look forward into having a part 2 with you,
Absolutely.
and
Anytime.
us be able to expound
I
on
love
this.
what you guys are doing, and I love, I can see your passion with it. So I love
Thank you so
anything
much.
that I can do.
Yeah. So can you give me a shout out to the Brack Shack real quick?
Yeah, you want me to give you the shout out, or just
Nope.
to
I want
Brian?
you to give the shout out to Brack Shack. We're in their establishment, and the next time we come, guys, we're probably going to be doing a little bit of a food tasting too. So you'll get to see the Black Widow Borga try some ribs. We'll get a reaction
yes, I
video
love
out of her.
ribs.
We've got some other locations and establishments coming. So this won't be the last time that we have Jessica here. This is our go-to fighter. This is our hometown girl. So you'll see more of her than you probably see of any other fighter. But we do want to have some other fighters on here. We do have some in mind and some on our list. So we will be covering the combat sports game, and Jessica Borga is probably going to be at the top of it for us. That's who we're putting on the top of the cake.
And thanks
So-
again for having us, the Brack Shack. Everyone, come in, try them out.
Yep. Thank you so much, guys. We'll see y'all next time. The Black Widow. I'm Brian. Nessa in the back. We greatly appreciate you guys. Love and
Yes, thank
peace.
you.